Today's podcast, we are going to talk about building successful habits.
That was not always a hard thing for me in some cases, but it was hard sometimes and easy sometimes. So yeah.
I find it's harder as an adult.
I think so too. I don't know. Well, I guess we can talk about it.
Okay.
Hello and welcome back. Hello and welcome back. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Hello and welcome back to the Engage Your Passion podcast.
It's time to engage your passion.
Hello and welcome back to the Engage Your Passion podcast, or we like to say the EYP podcast. I'm Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And together we are
Tony and Sarah.
Well, welcome to season 2, part 2.
Yeah, I wrote that down and I was like, it's 2-2 today.
It's 2-2 today, yeah, absolutely.
How did you enjoy interviewing your sister?
I thought it was really cool, really inspirational. It's kind of made me speechless.
Yeah, no,
it was really good. I thought it was good information and very inspirational. I think I said that. But I think one of the things I think she even said, we made all the mistakes so that we know what to do now. And I think so it's proof in the pudding that your failures lead to your success.
Right.
It doesn't lead to your doom, like we maybe used to think.
Yeah, we're in season 2 now, and we're not doing guests or spotlights every week, but the people that we are, like David and your sister, is like, I knew them for so long, but just listening to their stories, the things you can learn from people you already know. If you just listen, it's kind of crazy. What was like the most insight that you had from that?
I think for me, I did not realize, and it's funny because she and I are 4 years apart. So when she entered high school, I was headed out to college. So one of the things that I did not realize, I saw the results of her scholarships and her, being ranked nationally and, getting, trying out for the Olympics and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't realize that in the beginning, she wasn't always winning. Like, I didn't realize that. I thought, I thought it was, dare I say, not that it came easy to her, but I thought she had that initial success the whole time. And then for her to go, oh my gosh, no, I was getting beat all the time. It was, I didn't know that. And I know my sister forever. So it's interesting how you, like you said, the people you already know, use this time when we're all together to kind of maybe dig a little deeper. Because it was pretty, it was insightful, definitely.
Yeah, because I think for you, because you did sports, all that came easy for you, right?
I won't say it came easy, but I was blessed with some natural talent. And so I had to work hard to maintain things and stuff like that. But it did get to the point where I was able, coaches saw that I was, had some talent and stuff like that. And with them, kind of ushered me into working hard to kind of build on it. But I moved so much when we were small with being military. So I had lots of different coaches going, hey, but I went to 4 different high schools. So that was a challenge. But to answer your question, I was blessed with some natural talent, but I still had to, we all still had to work hard.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the military, because that's kind of where I wanted to take today. You in season 1, you mentioned your story about being a military brat, and then she had hers. And, I have had to learn the extreme hard way about how much your habits play in really just daily life, and then you add the arts and entertainment and wanting to have that professional career and stuff like that, and really any career, sports or just having a really great life. But both of you kind of mentioned that the stuff that you, like she said, it's just how she's always been. So being raised in a military environment, like, how did that help instill your habits? Like, I'm interested as the civilian.
Oh, okay.
What can you teach me today?
So today we're talking habits, then. Health and habits. Okay. So, good question. I think the inference for most people listening, and for most people I've always known, oh, you're military, you must be strict. And they're right. Yeah, my dad was strict. But I think we were talking pre-taping that my grandparents were strict. Not to the point where it was like you couldn't have any fun, but you weren't going to be staying out till the trouble starts. Right. That street light came on and you were in. Anybody out there after the street lights were looking for trouble. At least that's how I was raised. And so if you were out there after, I didn't mean anything by that. Just if you were out after the street lights, hey, more power to you. Yeah. But I guess the thing for us, it was instilled. What was the question again?
How do you feel that being a military brat, as they say, helped instill, like, I'm going to say the good habits and the bad habits even?
I think I gotcha. The big one for me was the discipline. Discipline. And I think, just with my experience, I think the big thing was we had discipline in regards to, we had our chores, we had certain times where we had to get homework. We did not live grow up with cell phones attached to our ears and all that. So we had TV time. And back when I was growing up, there was still there was Saturday morning cartoons. So that was a treat if we got everything done. I think responsibility, they taught us responsibility, and I think just the discipline, because it was instilled in us, this is what you have to do to get your reward. You can't just get this and expect not to work for it. And I think that's where the work ethic came too. And I think in our case, with my sister and I, it was, always people say, nurture or nature, and I go a little bit of both. Our whole family, from what I remember growing up, were sticklers for everything from education to getting the work done. Our whole family history is basically people moving to Panama from our Chinese background to Jamaican background, Barbados, working on the canal in Panama. So I guess, maybe, I don't know, I'm just shooting some stuff here. That work ethic of, that manual labor and having to get up and do that all the time. Maybe it's in our lifeline. I don't know. But I know with the military, discipline, and I think one thing my dad and my mom instilled in us was they gave us the reason why. Like, we're doing this to make sure you can do this. If you have to do this to make sure you can do this. And so even though the chores were monotonous and the chores were not pleasurable, they kept our eye on the goal, which got us through the hard parts. Yeah,
I was listening back to Nicole's interview, and I will say, her big reason why, like, she talked about track, about, the coach said this, and so she, he said to run 5, she ran 7, all of that. But her why was, she wasn't going to be able to afford college. She had to get a scholarship because she didn't want to be in debt. And so she was going to train, because she grew up, like you said a little bit ago, she wasn't winning everything at first. But those little things that in that work ethic of showing up and doing just a bit more really added up to where she eventually got to go.
And that's something my mom and dad, or our mom and dad, instilled in us. And I guess it's a military thing. When I say jump, it's you say how high type of thing. But it was, if someone asked you to do 5, then you do 7, do 8. if someone asked you to, if someone asked you to do this, then you do this plus. And I guess, I mean, in a way, it's show your value, and they taught that to us at a young age, and which is now, it's kind of apparent now, because I didn't realize until just this moment. Yeah, they were teaching us to show these people who, show your people who are supervising you or managing you or whatever, or coaching you, educating you, what your value is. And I guess I'm tying it that way. But yeah,
Right.
I did the same thing when I was running track. He said, you guys do, go run the route, run 4 times around the track. And people would think I was crazy because I would run 5 or 6. And my sister said that, actually it's kind of funny because I didn't know you did that too. So yeah, so I guess it's instilled.
And her work ethic, even in the audition, the judges and the people who were going to be accepting her saw it. She did it 3 times. Twice she did it wrong. And the last time she fought and did it correctly. And that's what they told her. She said she got it because I know you will work for me. And so she was in the audition just by persevering and going through it and being herself. She was able to show them, that she's going to work for it. And I think those habits of being, you don't have to be the best, but if you're going to show up and work, and we talk about that all the time, just showing up is half the battle.
Yeah.
I have some students of mine who they talk down to themselves, and I can't want it for them, and I tell them that, and I said, but if you keep showing up, I will too, and it's you have to meet that halfway. So how do you feel as ordinary civilians? Like what
we call them civvies, but anyway.
because I did have to, nothing against my family, I learned great habits, I feel as well,
you have to be,
but I learned, at least in my health, that's the health, industry, that's another podcast that I can talk about.
Right.
I can go on and on, especially growing up as a dancer, but I admire it about you, just like we travel together, and your habit of unpacking your suitcase and putting your stuff away. Like for me, it's like I would rather, but you learn that from on tour. But I'm sure, I've had conversations with you and your mom. Everything has a place.
For me, I'm kind of anal that way. You like it or not, it's just
so. I guess what things from the military do you think that us civilians or civies could take away? Like, what are things that help?
Well, I think being, just to say it, civilian, military, I think there's a what do you call it? Interpreted understanding of what that is. But I think people, in the civies do it too. But I think the big thing that we learned was, and it's still a challenge today, but time management was a big lesson, and I failed so many times. But I think the habits that stand out for me are expectations, and I even use that today. Manage expectations, your own and others. And I think I was telling AJ a couple weeks ago. I learned that the recipe for frustration are your expectations and reality, and your expectation and your frustration, happens in between those. You have an expectation of what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, or whatever your expectation is versus what reality has. And the difference between those two is where the frustration happens.
Yeah.
And so if you're managing those expectations versus, that's one. So I didn't want to go too far deep into that. And then 2, I think the work ethic, it's, we knew what the goal was. It's very goal driven. So I'd say goal setting is really big there, because when you're setting a goal and you know why you're doing certain things. One of the things I had to do was mow the lawn, and it wasn't with the sit down mower, and it wasn't with a push mower. It was one of those I don't know if you guys remember, had 2 wheels and it had a bunch of like blades across it, and you had to push through the grass. We could afford a lawnmower. I know because my dad was talking about it, but he goes, nah, you'll learn.
I just want to note that the difference between you and me, because you were talking about the lawnmower, and I said, yeah, like I knew what I was talking about. I think I mowed the lawn twice, but not with one of those. I just seen pictures of them. That's why I said, yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that's why you got good habits, not me.
No, I think we all, you have really good habits. I mean, you're very consistent. I think that's the last thing too. Staying consistent is like, it's one thing to do it 4 times, but you're not going to get a result, or you're not going to see the result until you do it 15 times.
And that's the hardest part about instilling habits at the beginning, I found. And that's when I guess that maybe I have a little envy there of you, who you almost were able to create really great work habits or work ethic habits without even realizing it, because you were young and you grew up in a regimented thing. And so they were just like your sister even said when we asked her about, what was, how did she come to that, or what was her wow moment, or, she had some wow moments, but like she said, she's always been that way. Like she didn't ever have a choice. Like she couldn't really think of that. And I think you're the same way. Nothing's wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, your face was like,
oh no, I was just thinking because like we never discussed that before.
No, I know. So, but for me, it's the showing up and not seeing the results and having that faith. And that is something that she talked about in Rejection.
Right.
Actually, she was talking about her book because we had asked her about the feedback, and she was like, I just have to have the faith that people are getting what they want out of my book. And I think you have to do that. I'm gonna sneeze.
Okay. Bless you. Okay.
Okay, sorry. But I think like you just have to keep showing up, because it's those little bite-sized chunks that over a matter of time help. And I know for me, consistency has helped with confidence. And we've been talking a lot.
I like that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I like that.
What'd I say?
Really like that statement. Consistency leads to confidence, and it really does.
Yeah.
The more you do something, the more familiar with it. I just thought it was a really good point that we should point out. It's a great saying.
Well, and that's one thing that I wanted to lead it in, because I know we've been talking about military and kind of that, because I really, not being in it, I really, between your story, and if you haven't listened to Tony's story, that was back in season 1, I want to say episode 2, I would go back and urge you to listen to his story. He is very inspiring to me, and I'm not just saying that because he's my husband. He had lots of challenges at growing up, and being outside, not in the military, I can see between your sister's interview and your interview, and just knowing you guys have lots of great habits that you just, in your upbringing, somehow became second nature to you, that I had to really struggle with. But one thing that, she had to just keep showing up, even though she kept getting rejected. And she learned over that, instead of let me get this job, what can I learn from this experience? Yes. And wrapping it back into, the arts and entertainment industry, or going on an interview, right, or whatever you're doing. I think showing up and just having the faith that you're going to get what you need to get out of it if you just keep consistent.
Well, yeah, to kind of grab onto what you said, being consistent leads to the confidence on both sides. Excuse me. From you personally, if it's I'm going to go to these auditions and I'm going to learn, I'm going to keep creating content. I'm going to do it every week, and that provides confidence for you to keep going. People who are receiving it or seeing it, or maybe even when things get back to the new normal, whatever that may be. If it's a decision maker or a casting member who knows, a casting director that sees you come in and they go, okay, they always have a solid audition. This may be good. Or they're, someone we, I guess, as people, consistency is something we really like. You've heard of the people who don't like change. It's because they want things consistent.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because in life, especially our lives, the only thing that is consistent is change. So it's ironic that that works that way. But I think
How do you manage that? I mean, you were growing up, you changed all the time. Were you like?
I will say this. As soon as you asked that question, one thing came to me was, it didn't matter if we were in New York or we were living in Central America or living in San Diego or wherever, you know, we've lived in so many places, Georgia, Korea. It doesn't matter where we were living, our household had a consistent, environment.
Yeah.
We knew when we got to the house, everybody was going to go, and we got to choose rooms, and then we got to go, put stuff, our stuff and the stuff that we may have brought with it in the car or the truck into our room and kind of live in. We knew, we already knew what our chores were, so it didn't matter geographically where we were. Some things changed because of that, but we had a system in our family, and my parents always said, this is why we are doing this. And we were all on the same page on, we want to go on our vacation this summer. And if we can get this, and this done, we'll have the finances, we can leave the house, the house won't be a mess when we, whatever those things were.
It was a process.
Yeah, it was a process. Yeah, there was a process in place. And I think for me, the key to the habit is the end goal, because things get extremely difficult. Extremely, to the point where, and I will say this, in the last couple of years for us, it's just been, I have never been a quitter. And I think in the last couple of years, maybe the second time I've ever actually wanted to quit something, which was a real knock to my personal beliefs in myself. So that was a rough time, because I've never ever wanted to quit anything because I knew what the goal was and went. But things got really hard, and with COVID and things of that nature, it's been difficult. But I guess keeping, what's that saying? Keep your eye on the prize. That's what's been keeping me going.
It's been a really hard time. When we're recording this, we have almost a week from learning that Broadway has extended their shutdown, and I know, a lot of people are out of work. Disney just laid off a ton of people, including a few people we know and are really close with, and so our thoughts
been there 16, 18 years and getting laid off is not, and I mean, I don't know. I think, the consistent thing, with talking to one of them is like, he's still, one of the people who was laid off at Disney, he's going to keep doing his thing. And that show that he was doing, he said is coming back. So we'll talk to you guys about that later. But, I think you've been talking a lot about me, and I want to hear about you. I mean, what about your habits? I mean, how did you, because one of the things you inspire me with your health, I just call them the health habits. It's, you inspire me. We get up and at least 6-7 times a week, we're running and walking and, maintaining our health, the way that we eat. And, that was not always the case for me. So those habits that you've helped instill in me, I mean, I think we both we may have our own challenges, but I guess from you, like what got you into maintaining, the habits that you're seeing results and that you want to keep going? How was that for you?
It was probably failure and not wanting to fail anymore. For me. I always went in and did my best, especially not at school. Let's just be clear about that. School was hard for me, although it might depend on who you ask. It was one of those things I think people thought came easily, but like spelling, reading, language arts, a lot.
Well, but the dancing came easy to you.
Yes, dancing came easy, but I just showed up. I just always showed up because it was what I wanted. When my health habits came into play, I was endlessly searching for something because I been knocked down pretty hard, and I was trying to figure out my life again. And so I was listening to podcasts, you know, because they were free and they were helping me. And more than one of them said, you know, talked about habits, but they also talked about, you know, working out, eating correctly. It will help every other thing. And then, you know, how I showed you, how I mentioned your habit, your consistency helps with your confidence. And I heard that. I don't know if they said it that way, but they basically said if you just, you know, make a promise to yourself and you keep it, that shows you that you can, you're not letting yourself down, and you can
be
do
accountable
that.
to yourself.
Because if you can't be accountable to yourself, how are you going to be accountable to everybody else?
Yeah.
And I know, like, I feel like it's such a cliche, and I know that in our, you know, however long we've been together, 14, 15 years, I know I've said, like, for you, I was like, if you don't take care of you, you're not going to be here for this business, you know, and you know, rolled your eyes at me, but
just
okay.
now?
No.
Oh, back then? Back then, probably, but not now.
I don't know. We'll have to rewind the video and find out if you just rolled your eyes at me.
No, anyway.
But it's so true, and it's something that I completely lost myself. And that is actually when I ended up failing. I was living for, you know, the parents at the studio, my students, or you. And I was trying to show up for everyone else, but I was not showing up for myself. And when I just slowly started showing up for myself, and testing myself, like a huge one is, when was the last time I had a Coke?
That was huge, yeah. I can't actually remember.
A soda, depending on
pop,
depending on where you're at.
Yeah, because it was pop and pretzels, right?
Pop and pretzels, Coke and Coke.
Now, if you drink pop and you eat pretzels, there's nothing wrong with that. We're just saying.
No, I used to take pretzels and dip it into the soda, and it was terrible. But I tested because I just knew it was terrible for me, and so I tried it, and I was able to go without it, and then I was able to go without it. And now I can't even remember how long it's been. So it's just showing up for myself, and then realizing, like, when I don't drink my water, when I don't work out, when I don't sit and am grateful for the life I have, going and being a production manager and managing so many other people, or going to teach my classes, or showing up for you as your wife, or my nieces and nephews and my sister, and just all of that. I can't do it. I can't make it through the day. And I have on more than one occasion realized that if I don't take care of me, I can't do it for everyone else. So I don't know if that even answered your question. I feel like I was rambling, but
no, I think it was just insightful because, I mean, for someone, I would just say because you in your own case and me in my own case, I created my own, I guess habits that were working for me. I remember you being in that place, and it wasn't great for you, and it wasn't great for us, but you made the decision to, get yourself together, or at least commit to yourself that I want to do this. And then, and then even us together as a couple had to take our individuals and then go, okay, what do we want to do as a couple? Yeah. And it's not easy. And I guess that's the thing that, just with society and products and services and everything, hey, it's only this, it's easy. It's only going to take you 5 seconds. It's like, easy is not the way to success. I'm just saying, if this product's going to help you buy this product, it's going to make your life easy. People do want that comfort. But it's and in many ways we use things to kind of ease our lives. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to get to the hard stuff. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Sorry.
But I mean, I don't know. I think just with just talking about the habits today, I think dare I say at least I think the three things for me. One,
Yeah, what are the top three
Yeah.
that you think?
I think for me is knowing your why. Why are you even going to attempt whatever you're going to attempt? Why? Because I think that is going to be the key. So when it gets hard and it gets frustrating and it gets like you want to quit, like I've experienced a couple times, which is not a great feeling, you can keep your eye on the prize. You can keep, why are you doing this? That will get you through those really tough times. I think having a why is, for me, it's extremely important because when it gets really rough and really hard, that is what kind of pulls you out of the quicksand. I think two, be consistent. Now the word is not like when I was teaching shows and doing master classes and stuff like that, when we're all out there, one of the things I would tell the students is when you're dancing or when you're performing or we're doing this show, hey, we've got a 6-month run and we're doing this tour. We want you to be as consistently consistent as you can possibly be. Not perfect, but be consistently consistent. Meaning, if it's, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning for the next 4 days. Struggle through the 4 days of waking up at 6 a.m. and then set another goal. Okay, we're going to do 6 a.m. for 5 days. It doesn't have to be, these things where, like the dieting stuff, which we know doesn't work, at least doesn't work for us. Okay, I'm going to eat this way for 30 days and I'm going to cut everything out. Well, it's when you, I guess what I'm saying is setting realistic goals so that you can basically get little wins. I call them little wins. So I'd say your why and set yourself up for success with little wins, which will turn into bigger wins. And I think 3, mental health. Working on the negativity that comes with everyone naturally and taking everything that comes into your head and flipping into a positive. I'm really, really tired, but I got this done and this done and this done, and so tomorrow I'll work on it better. And I even have to work on that. But I think
your sister mentioned that too, the negative, like keeping all that out.
Her negative environment. Yeah, I think flipping that out again is keeping a positive environment for yourself. And for your surroundings. And I'm sure in some cases that's not the best thing, but it may not be the easiest thing depending on your situation. So I think just to wrap it up from my side, I'm kind of going along too, just what's your why? Give yourself an opportunity to make little wins, little bites, that'll help. And I think keeping a positive atmosphere or a positive mental experience or whatever you're going through the day, whatever negative comes in, flip it to what is the positive, and see how that goes, because that's what's helped me get through staying consistent for years on some things, and us working together. I think our why is the most important, and then the how, it's kind of everything else. But I hope that helps. If you're trying to do that, because it's, again, it's not easy, but if you're willing to do the work, it's so worth it.
It really is.
What about you?
I'm going to go a little more tangible and actionable things. But they all are kind of go with you. I could sit here as an artist talking to you about the habits that you need to have in the classroom and doing all of that. But if you really want to make it in life, and deal with the rejection and do all of those things, I agree with Tony, like having the why. And the one thing that I do every day, it's the first thing I do after I drink water, is I write out what I'm grateful for. And that, I will say the first 3 things I do in my day other than drink the water.
Tell them how much water you drink.
So I down a liter of water first thing when I get up, and then I drink a gallon of water.
Okay.
So a gallon plus a liter, however much that is.
1 gallon liter per day.
Yeah, sure. So I do that, but then after that, I start with gratitude, and that is probably sometimes the hardest part.
Explain that. I know what you're talking about, but just in case they don't know.
Explain
what your gratitude.
Okay, so I write down small things that happened in the last 24 hours from the time I sat down to the time, I finished writing my gratitude from the day before, or flip that and reverse it, Okay, I was about to say Missy.
Say Missy.
Okay.
I got you. I was there.
Okay. See, you followed me that time. But I write down whatever happened in the last 24 hours that I'm grateful for. Some days it's the fact that I could get my liter of water down. Some days it's the pre-workout that I have that I'm drinking because I'm like exhausted. Sometimes it's, big things because, we went on a walk and it was amazing. Or, one of my students had a really big win. So some days it's literally like I look up and go, oh, I'm glad I have a roof over my head. Because it's really sometimes can be the hardest thing for me to figure out if I am not in a great headspace. But forcing myself to come up with 5 things helps that headspace. And it helps you keep like the positivity in my life. Because the world is full of negative. Like that, if you were on the podcast, I just rolled my eyes real big. Like real big. Because right now, just the way the world is, everybody has their own opinion.
The negative is very easy, but you got to really push for the
And honestly,
positive.
even outside of how life is right now, it's always that way. It's always easier to find what's wrong than what's right. And so spending time doing that. And then I go to my why. And I write my top 10 goals or my reasons, because you have different aspects of your life.
Right.
And so to have the one, I want to be on Broadway. Yeah, but what else do you want to have with your life? Like you have a personal life, you have the professional life, you have your friends, you have your health. Maybe that's a goal. You have, aspirations to go have fun, or, for a long time it was Tony and I have a weekly date night because we were not in that place where we could.
Right.
And so that would be something I would write down. And, it's been indoors, like at home, but we make, we make a weekly date night now. And once you get it, then you can move on to something else. But that helps me see my why. Why am I drinking the water? Well, because I want the energy to be able to make it through my day. And that's one of my goals. And they don't have to be big, crazy goals, but they can be. And so doing that. And then I go work out. I move, and someone I follow and that I really admire. I like what she says. She says sweat or stretch every day. So you don't have to have like this grueling, like crazy workout, but sweat or stretch. This morning was a stretch day. But my muscles are tight, and we've been running and I work out a lot, that if I don't take the time to stretch, but some days I need to lift a heavy weight and I need to throw it around because, one of my students made me really mad yesterday, so.
Turn it into positive.
Yeah. So I'm going to go move that weight around and I'm going to do that. But I would say those 3 things: gratitude, goals, and move your body.
Water, part 4.
Yeah, water is part 4. Yeah. I will have to say water is probably most important.
So I would say this then. I agree with that with water, because you got me into that too, and I'm drinking a gallon, just a little over. It was harder at first, but I do feel better, so I got to give you that. So I think I'd love to hear from you guys. What habits are you working on, succeeding on, or even trying to start that are helping you get to your goals? Because there are
bad habits too.
Yeah.
Or maybe what are bad habits that you're trying to break?
Rid of. Yeah.
That can be another topic. We can talk about how to break
some habits.
Break bad habits. But your insight from the military background and your sister and how y'all work so hard is really inspiring to me, because habits have not come easy to me.
Yeah, and some have for me, and then some haven't. Yeah, so I think we all have our challenges with that, but I think hopefully just little tips that we've learned and what we've done with our lives and what we've learned from people before us and who's, mentors and stuff like that can help you, if you're on track, hopefully stay on track. And if you're not there, you're not happy with where you are, hopefully this gives you a step to get on the road to, being the better version of you. That's kind of cheesy. But,
yeah, and I know I feel like this was maybe not as, how to
but it wasn't
engage your passion. But if you
yeah.
want to engage your passion, you
gotta,
have to have really great habits.
To be able to engage them.
Yeah. And I think, to just turn it back into, what our podcast is about and whatnot. These habits that we said almost the same thing. I don't think you said workout. You said being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can start there, then everything is going to lead into the habits that you want to engage your passion, showing up at auditions and doing all of that. So you got to start from the bottom and work up.
Yeah, I think
creating good roots.
Good roots. Yeah, there you go. But I think just do it. Start. Yeah, Nike. But just start. Even if it's, I think for me, that's one of the things I did. It's like, I'm going to wake up for 4 days at this time. Boom. And it took a while, but you got it. Then you do it for longer. Or I'm not going to eat a pop for 1 day and get through that 1 day. And then, it's the small things.
And find out what works for you.
Yeah.
What works for us may not be
the exact same, but we're just giving you our experience on what has worked for us and stuff like that. But I think, so if we were going to leave them with one last thing, what about habits? What do you want to leave them with?
Find one thing. I would say figure out your why. And then pick one thing that can help you get there and implement that into your life every day and start with that one thing. And
you stole my thunder. So I'm going to actually, it's the exact same thing and say, I think the why.
We didn't plan that.
Yeah, we didn't. I think your why is the most important. Why do you want to improve your life for what result? Mm-hmm. I think that is the key. And everything kind of builds on that. It may be your child, it may be your kid, it may be your career, it may be your image, it may be your health, it could be anything. I will say this, whatever your why is, own it. If somebody, because one of the things I realized when I found my why, I would tell everybody, and most of the people came back with, you think you're all that, or there's no way you're going to do that. I'd say protect your why. It's your why, not theirs. I guess that's the only thing. Understand your why, protect your why, and use that as your catalyst as you move forward.
Yep.
Well, I really appreciate you guys being with us.
Yeah.
We have the great thing about season 2. We have more guests, more spotlights coming up, insights from other people in the industry. We're going to have actually some of our friends from who've been laid off and what they're doing now to kind of keep going, and hopefully that'll inspire you guys to get going too. So, well, thank you for listening to the Engage Your Passion podcast. My name's Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And until then, engage your passion.